This is the second video in regards to expert accounting. In this video, we want to go beyond the configuration that we saw in the first video and talk about the different catalogs that we have as part of our general ledger accounting system within XpertMart. If we go over to catalogs, we will see that there is a menu option under catalogs called general ledger. And I would like to start here. I guess we'll go to accounts first. Use the general ledger's accounts catalog. The accounts catalog we had talked about in configuration. This we can configure the account numbers here, depending on what we configured for account numbers. Here's where you're actually going to be able to see or enter your GL accounts. Each account has a name, long name, and as we mentioned in configuration, you always will use a top level account. It can be a minimum of 1 digit. In this case, there's going to be 3 digits in all, so we're only using the top level and then a level 1 with 2 digits, and in this case it can be 0. The sum of that top level account number, well, not the sum, but that top level account number to the left and then to the right of that level 1 number gives us the account number, which in this case is 100. We could put an abbreviation for this account if we wanted to. So it has a name and it has a number. It has abbreviation. This is the accounts catalog. It does not carry account balances. It's just basically a listing of account numbers. And of course, we have some reports available to list those account numbers. As we go forward, we'll see that often you'll be using XpertMart Accounting as an auxiliary with another accounting program, and in that case, probably from the other accounting program, you will import the chart of accounts or these accounts. And once the configuration is set up correctly to correspond to what you're importing, then this information will be filled in automatically from an import. So that is the accounts catalog. Going back to catalogs, general ledger. Having seen that, I might point out that there is a top level accounts. And on these top level accounts, we can determine, well, first of all, it can have a number, and the number is going to be as long as we had put in the configuration. In this case, it can only be 1 digit long. This account can have a name. Even though it's a top level account, it's a grouping. That's why I said maybe we could put 1, and we might want to call that, for example, assets. And I guess I put this all in capital letters. And we can use an abbreviation. And this is going to be when we report. We can break out reports on accounts based on this top level digits, the first digit of the account number. And here are some things, a balance and forward and debit, and whether it's debit, credit, income, etc. That if we're just going to be importing or linking to another accounting system, we really don't have to worry about these check boxes at the bottom. So we'll leave it at that for right now. So that's the top level accounts. Going back to catalogs, general ledger, we've looked at accounts, top level accounts. If we're using XpertMart as not as the main accounting, but just to import and export, then we're not going to really have to deal or want to deal with account balances. They may or may not be kept. Anyway, we're going to look at it real quick. An account balance is for each account number, month and a year, the total debits, total credits, the initial balance, the month's balance, and a year-to-date balance, and whether that month is closed or not closed. But again, probably not going to look at that if you're just using XpertMart as a link, which most of our users will be at this point, using it just as a link. So going back over to catalogs, general ledger, we've looked at account balances, accounts, top level accounts. We have GL departments, which would be it has a department number and a department name. And we can define the accounts that we want to have there. And again, these departments are going to be an extension of the account number if we needed to break it on down into departments. Again, some accountings use that, and since we're linking to their accountings, then we have included that there, but you don't need to know much more about it unless your accounting should happen to use departments, a final digit or digits of departments. Going back to general ledger, and if I'm skipping over that and you don't understand, it's because you don't have to deal with it. We have the journal types. Now, we had mentioned journal types, and I had mentioned that we can use a sales journal, receiving journal, transfers journal, and adjustment journals. So it's just the name of those journals, journal types, and then we saw in configuration how you can determine, for example, that all your adjustments are set on what's called an adjustments journal, and that'll just make things easier to trace because you'll know the journal entries, where they came from, what type of transaction caused them. Going back to catalogs, I think we have one or two left here. One left. General ledger accounts. We have GL companies, and GL companies is what company, again, if you have multiple stores, you might want to have multiple companies. If you only have one store, then you only need to add one register, and in that one register, you add the name of the company, and that will suffice. Then we will go later and at another level and look at the store's catalog, and there we'll see how that will be applied. But in other words, just the general ledger company, how many they're going to be. If there's only one, then you only have to add one. You need at least a minimum of one for the interface to work. So as far as catalogs for general ledger, that is an overview of the different catalogs. Let me real quickly go on and talk then. What we've seen now between the configuration and the catalogs, normally again as a link, you would import all your account numbers from your other accounting system, and we're dealing with different accounting systems, which could be BusinessWorks, which could be QuickBooks, or which could be Xero Online Accounting, or with an X, Xero.com. As there's several things that once we've got those account numbers there, and again they may be imported, and all that looks right, then we're ready to go in and we're going to start at catalogs. And really the first place we're going to go is to stores. And in the stores catalog, for each store, we will find some accounting information, and this is in the documentation, but I'm covering it right here. Different account numbers. But first of all, for each store, we have to tell which GL company it belongs to. That's why I said we need to have at least one GL company, even if we only have one store, or if all stores are going to be in the same company, we need to have one company because each store needs to be assigned at least to one company. And then we pick off of our chart of accounts or our catalog of accounts which account sales will be applied to which account number within the accounting system when general ledger entries are made to apply this to accounting. We have a separate account for discounts off of sales. Some people like to break out discounts over sales and put that in another place in their accounting. If that's the case, then you want to use the account number here. If not, you can use the same account as sales. Let me just emphasize right now, as I did in the documentation, every one of these accounts should be filled in. And even if you think, oh, I'm never going to use that, put an account there, and that way the accounting system will not unbalance and not be able to register something because it doesn't have a right account to put it into. If you want to create an account that's called posting errors and put it there, if you think you're never going to use it in that way, when it's used, you would say, hey, here's a balance that showed up in this account. Where did it come from? But again, just assume that you are going to use them, assign what account it would go to, and if you never use them, it doesn't affect you at all that they had the account numbers there. So we have sales, discounts on sales, and then their cost of goods sold. And I'm not going to try and give explanation of accounting here. If you don't know what these terms are, then you could ask our tech support if you need. But if you know about accounting, you probably know that. Cost of goods sold. Which account do we affect for cost of goods sold? And then we have an inventory account. What account number keeps track of the asset, inventory asset that's going to be affected every time we make a sale? So these numbers are fixed for every store. If we have multiple stores and we want them all to be the same, that's fine. If we want them to be different for every store, then we just have to, for each store record, change the selection of account numbers there. And we can just real quickly click on it with the mouse. But also, if we go with the up and down arrow, you'll notice that the account name, even though we're pretty much number based, you will see the account names on the right. It makes it easier to find whatever account it is that you want to use there. And I think this was maybe, I think 160 is, whoops, 170 inventory. Oh, but we're talking about sales. Okay, well, I will straighten that out. Sales 400 or something like that. Okay, I will remember to come back. I just won't save that record and I'll be okay. So once again, now in the stores, we tell which accounts are going to, for each store we're going to affect. In like fashion, we go to POS, we have payment types, and for each payment type, for example, cash, what account do I want of the general ledger accounting system? I pick the account that I'm going to apply cash to. And there's other payment terms. Credit card, does it go to the same account? Does it go to a different account? So for each payment type, there's going to be a general ledger account assigned. If there's a payment type you don't think you want to use, that you'll never use, go ahead and assign an account number, and nothing will ever happen if you never use it. But if you use it, then the amounts will show up there, and they could be traced of why that what you didn't expect to use got used. So for payment types, so again in catalogs, we've done stores, we've done under POS payment types. There is an XpertMart at the bottom of each invoice, the possibility of adding credits or charges. And so for each type of credit charge, for example, gift certificates, gift wrapping, sometimes we put small store expenses there. There's different ways to use the credit or charges at the bottom of the invoice. For each one of possible credit or charges that you have, you need to pick which account number from the general ledger accounts would apply that to. So which account is your cash? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on a step ahead in credits or charges. Gift certificates, which account would that go to, and so forth. So that is whatever you've added on credit and charges, which account should be affected by that. Going back to catalogs under POS, see if there's something else we're missing. We have POS, invoice flags, transport, and I think right there we're okay we don't have anything else there to add for accounting. If we go to credit cards, we're also not going to break out credit cards or money cards, but when we go to documents, most documents do not require a special account number, with one exception, and that is adjustments. When we make an adjustment, it's why is the reason for the adjustment. So for each adjustment type, one adjustment type would be physical inventory adjustment. You're going to assign an account number. And again, it's a pull-down menu off the accounts that you already have. So any adjustments that are made to inventory, to what account do they get credited? We need to input that information in there. So going back to POS, I believe that is all. Oh, we were down here in documents. I'm sorry, document types. None of these others really require a special account. It's only the adjustment types. The last, if I'm not mistaken, that we need to do is for taxes. What account does each one of our taxes apply to? So as we go to taxes, just in the taxes catalog, we'll find that for each tax, and again, I won't try to explain taxes in XpertMart. That's done elsewhere in documentation. But for each type of tax, we pick which account will be used to track that particular tax. So we just pick an account over here, and it's probably, again, a higher number than what's right here. So we would track there it is, income tax expenses. No, that's not an income tax. But anyway, whatever tax account you're going to use. So for each type of tax, you're going to put an account number. And again, if you say, oh, that tax I'm never going to use, assign an account number. If you never use it, it won't get affected. If you do use it, then you will be able to trace it back where it came from. So basically, with this second video, I've covered what you need to do of configuration in the configure menu, and now kind of catalogs in which you go into. And probably the sequence of events is you're going to want to go into configure and configure at least the links of the account numbers before you go into the catalogs. And then you're going to go through the catalogs and put those, especially the journal type catalog. And then you're going to go back into the configure, and where you need to put the journal types, you're going to put those journal types. And then you're going to want to also you'll need to actually have your chart of accounts entered in the accounts catalog, either manually or by importation, to finish up both of these configurations. So there's kind of you'll kind of jump back and forth between working a little bit in configure, a little bit in catalogs, back into configure, maybe from there back into catalogs a couple times in each, and then you can get all of this set up. But again, the rule is every account, every place that XpertMart is asking for a general ledger account number, put one in there and you'll avoid problems. I will continue with another video in regards to the accounting module in general.